Motion in your step.
Motivation in your heart.
Hello, and welcome to today's Motion and Motivation podcast.
We've put together a study guide for everyone. If you need it, you can grab it from the video description.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are going deep on Cal Newport's deep work. We're going to see what we can find. I know that a lot of you out there listening are interested in deep work and harnessing its power, and I think we have some fascinating insights to share today.
It's funny, when people hear deep work, they kind of think productivity.
Yeah.
But it's much more than that. It's really about developing a rare and valuable skill.
So let's break that down. What is deep work according to Newport?
Well, he defines it as professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that push your cognitive capabilities to their limit.
Okay.
It's about essentially giving your full attention to demanding tasks, training your mind to operate at a higher level.
So no multitasking, no checking your phone every 5 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to illustrate this, Newport actually uses the story of Carl Jung. Long before smartphones and the internet, Jung recognized the need for deep work. He built a stone tower in the woods, like a sanctuary dedicated to focused thinking and writing.
Wow, a whole tower. I guess you could say he took creating a deep work sanctuary pretty seriously.
Yeah.
What about today, though? Are there any modern examples of people embracing deep work?
Oh, absolutely. Bill Gates, for example, is famous for his Think Weeks.
Yeah.
He would completely isolate himself to read and think deeply about the future of technology.
Okay, so we have a psychiatrist in a stone tower and a tech mogul on a secluded retreat.
Wow.
What's the common thread here? Why should we care about deep work?
Well, I think what's fascinating is these examples from different fields and different eras point to the enduring power of deep work.
Yeah.
It's not tied to a specific profession or time period. It's a fundamental human capacity that can be honed to achieve extraordinary results.
Okay.
And the more our world becomes dominated by distractions, the more valuable this skill becomes.
So it's not just about getting things done faster. It's about tapping into a deeper level of thinking and creating work that truly matters.
Yeah.
Now, Newport argues that deep work isn't just beneficial, it's becoming crucial in our rapidly changing economy.
Yeah.
He even uses a pretty dramatic term for it, the Great Restructuring.
Yes. Technology is fundamentally changing the nature of work.
Yeah.
Jobs that can be automated are disappearing, and those that remain require these higher level skills and the ability to work effectively with intelligent machines.
And he believes that deep work is the key to succeeding in this new landscape. In fact, he highlights 3 groups who will have a distinct advantage.
That's right.
Can you walk us through this?
Yeah. First are those who can work with intelligent machines.
Oh.
Think of Nate Silver, who uses complex algorithms to analyze data and predict election outcomes. His deep understanding of statistics, his ability to critically interpret data allows him to leverage technology in a powerful way.
So it's not just about knowing how to use the tools. It's about having the deep thinking skills to use them effectively.
Exactly.
What about the second group?
So the second group are what Newport calls superstars in their field. A great example is David Heinemeier Hansson, creator of the popular programming framework Ruby on Rails. He's a brilliant programmer, but what sets him apart is his dedication to deep work. He focuses intensely, constantly pushes his skills to the limit, and ultimately creates something incredibly valuable and innovative.
That's inspiring. So deep work isn't just for geniuses. It's about pushing your own boundaries and mastering your craft, whatever that may be.
Right.
What about that third group, the ones with access to capital?
Right. So this group has the advantage of being able to invest in deep work, creating environments and structures that support focused concentration. However, I think the takeaway for everyone else is that we can still create our own versions of these structures, even if it's just dedicating an hour a day in a quiet room.
I love that. You don't need a fancy retreat or a stone tower to benefit from deep work. But what about those of us who struggle with distractions? The constant emails, notifications, the allure of checking social media every 5 minutes. How do we even begin to cultivate deep work habits?
Right. So that's where understanding what's called attention residue comes in.
All right.
Every time you switch tasks, a little bit of your focus stays stuck on the previous one.
Okay.
And it's like mental clutter that builds up and makes you less effective overall.
That's so true. I feel like I'm constantly juggling a million things in my mind. No wonder I can never seem to focus for long periods.
Yeah, and in today's hyper-connected workplace with the expectation of constant availability, it's even harder to protect our attention and engage in the kind of deep work that leads to breakthroughs.
So it's not just about external distractions. It's also about this internal pressure to be busy all the time. It's
Mm.
almost like we wear busyness as a badge of honor, even if it's not actually productive.
Exactly. It becomes a shield, a way to avoid the difficult, focused work that truly moves the needle. And that brings us to another crucial aspect of deep work, its impact on our mental and emotional well-being. It's not just about productivity, it's about something much deeper.
Okay, let's dive into that. Tell me more about the deeper benefits of deep work.
Well, one of the most compelling aspects is the connection between deep work and craftsmanship. Newport shares the story of Rick Furrer, a master swordsmith.
Oh, I remember that story. Fur finds incredible meaning and satisfaction in his craft.
Yeah. He talks about the challenge of creating a sword, this intricate process, the dedication to honing his skills. It's not just about the end product, it's about the process, the pursuit of mastery, and the joy of creating something beautiful and meaningful.
And that's something that can apply to any profession, not just traditional crafts. Whether you're a writer, a programmer, a teacher, there's that potential for craftsmanship in your work.
Exactly. Deep work enables you to tap into that potential, to transform your job from a mere obligation into a source of meaning and satisfaction.
Right.
It's about approaching your work with intention, with a commitment to excellence, and a desire to constantly learn and grow.
It's about finding that flow state where you're completely engrossed in what you're doing, losing track of time, and emerging feeling energized and fulfilled.
You got it. And speaking of fulfillment, Newport also explores this connection between deep work and happiness. He draws on the experience of Winifred Gallagher, a science writer who faced a cancer diagnosis.
I remember this one too. During her treatment, she deliberately chose to focus on the good things in her life, to engage deeply with her passions.
Yes, and she found that this deliberate focus brought her a sense of peace and even joy during a very difficult time. She realized that where we choose to focus our attention shapes our reality, our experience, and ultimately our well-being.
So it's not just about ignoring the negative, it's about choosing to focus on the things that bring meaning and purpose to our lives, especially in the face of challenges.
Exactly. And deep work, when practiced regularly, can help us build the mental and emotional resilience to handle difficult emotions and find purpose even in challenging situations.
That's a powerful idea. It's not about becoming some kind of stoic robot. It's about training our minds to be present, focused, and engaged regardless of the circumstances.
Exactly. It's about finding that inner calm amidst the chaos of daily life. And one way to cultivate that is through a practice Newport calls productive meditation.
That sounds interesting. I thought meditation was all about clearing your mind. How can it be productive?
Right. It's not about emptying your mind completely. Instead, it's about focusing your attention on a single problem or idea while walking or engaging in some other low-key activity. This helps train your mind to concentrate and become more comfortable with silence and solitude, which are essential for deep work.
Ah, so it's like we're building up our mental stamina, our ability to focus for extended periods.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that deep work isn't about being on all the time. Breaks and downtime are essential for our brains to process information and make connections. In fact, some of our most creative insights and breakthroughs come when we're not actively working on a problem, but allowing our minds to wander.
So it's about finding a balance between intense focus and intentional rest. It's not about becoming a workaholic monk. It's about integrating deep work into a sustainable rhythm that allows us to tap into our full potential. But how do we actually make this happen? How do we go from knowing about deep work to actually doing it?
That's a great question, and that's where the practical strategies come in.
Mm-hmm.
But before we dive into those, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned so far. Deep work is about so much more than just productivity.
Yeah.
It's a pathway to mastery, meaning, and a deeper sense of fulfillment in our lives.
Absolutely. It's about taking back control of our time and attention and using those precious resources to create work that matters, to live a life that is meaningful, and to become the best versions of ourselves. And on that note, let's explore the practical strategies for making deep work a reality in our lives.
So you're ready to actually implement deep work.
Let's do it.
You can't just rely on willpower, though. You got to have a strategy.
Right. I've tried to just will myself into deep work mode before, and it just never really works.
Exactly. Newport outlines 4 distinct deep work philosophies,
Okay.
and these can help us do just that. They are monastic, bimodal, rhythmic, and journalistic.
Okay. Those sound intriguing. Which one's the best?
Well, there's no one-size-fits-all answer. The best one for you is going to depend on your personality, your work style, your demands of your job. But let's explore each one, and you can kind of see what resonates.
Okay.
So first up is monastic.
Monastic. It sounds intense.
It can be. Imagine eliminating or drastically reducing all shallow obligations.
Okay.
Things like social media, email, meetings, just creating these large stretches of uninterrupted time for duck work.
Okay, so that one's not for everybody.
Right. Think writers retreating to remote cabins or academics on sabbatical.
Right, if you're working in a collaborative environment
Yeah.
or have a life outside of work, that might not be the one.
Right.
What about bimodal?
So bimodal is more about dividing your time into these clearly defined chunks. You might spend several days in a deep work mode, completely disconnected, and then you'd follow that by periods where you're handling all your shallow obligations.
Okay, so that's starting to sound a bit more realistic. So you find those longer stretches of time to go deep, and then you come back to the surface to deal with the everyday stuff.
Right. Think Bill Gates and his Think Weeks.
What about rhythmic?
The rhythmic philosophy is all about building a routine.
Okay.
So you schedule deep work into your day or your week, just like any other important appointment.
Right.
Even if you can only spare an hour a day, doing it consistently at the same time can really train your mind to get into that focused state more easily.
I like that. So it's about creating that consistency and that habit.
Right.
Okay, what about that last one? Journalistic. That one sounds kind of interesting.
So the journalistic philosophy is for those who thrive on flexibility.
Okay.
You fit deep work sessions in whenever you find the time. Kind of like a journalist who writes an article whenever they get a spare moment. It takes a high level of adaptability, the ability to switch into deep work mode quickly.
So it's about seizing those pockets of time and making the most of them.
Exactly.
Okay, so these philosophies give us a great framework, but what about some concrete actions that our listeners can take today, to cultivate deep work?
Great question. So Newport offers a ton of practical advice, but let's highlight a few strategies that are both powerful and easy to implement.
Perfect.
So first up is schedule internet blocks.
Okay.
So instead of mindlessly browsing all day long, dedicate specific times for online activities like checking email or social media.
I've tried to limit my social media before, and it just always feels like I'm fighting a losing battle.
Right. It's tough. But by scheduling those blocks of time, you reduce the addictive pull.
Okay.
You reclaim control of your attention.
Okay, so it's like setting boundaries. Like, okay, internet, you get this hour, but the rest of the day is mine.
Yeah.
I like it. What else?
So remember how Newport described Teddy Roosevelt's crazy productive college schedule?
Oh, yeah, he was like a deep work machine, even back then.
Exactly. So that's where our next strategy comes in. Work. Like Teddy Roosevelt.
Like it.
Set a timer for like 30 minutes or an hour. Work on a single task with absolute focus.
Okay.
And you'd be amazed by how much you can achieve when you eliminate those distractions.
So like a mini deep work sprint.
Yeah.
I'm in. What's our next strategy?
So this one might sound counterintuitive, but it's productive meditation.
Okay.
Remember how Newport suggested using walks to focus on specific problems?
Yeah, I thought meditation was about clearing your mind, not filling it up with work problems.
Right. It's not about traditional meditation. It's about training your mind to stay on task even when you're not at your desk.
Right.
So instead of zoning out or scrolling through your phone during your downtime, use that time to make progress on a problem or an idea.
So even our downtime can be productive.
Yes.
Okay. Starting to see how this deep work stuff can really permeate every aspect of our lives.
Yeah.
What's our final strategy?
All right, this one is crucial. It's embrace boredom.
Okay.
We are so accustomed to constant stimulation that we've kind of forgotten how to simply be.
Oh, I'm so guilty of this.
I know.
Like if I have to wait in line for more than 2 minutes, I'm reaching for my phone.
Right. And that's exactly the habit that we need to break.
Okay.
Resist that urge to constantly switch to distracting activities and train your mind to handle those periods of low stimulation.
So it's like we're building up our mental muscles, like our capacity for focus and concentration.
Exactly. And the more comfortable we become with boredom, the easier it will be to engage in deep work for extended periods.
I like these strategies. It's clear that taking control of our environment and our tools is essential for deep work. But what about the tools themselves? Should we all ditch our smartphones and move to a remote cabin? Okay, so we've covered how to cultivate deep work. But what about all that shallow work that inevitably creeps into our days?
Yeah, it's true. Shallow work is a part of life for most of us. And a certain amount is fine, but it's when it starts to crowd out the time for deep work that it becomes a problem.
So what exactly is shallow work, and how can we tell if it's becoming a problem?
Well, Newport defines it as tasks that don't require intense focus.
Okay.
Things like responding to emails, attending routine meetings, doing administrative tasks. And you know it's a problem if you're constantly busy, but not feeling like you're making real progress on the things that matter.
Yeah, it's like that feeling of being a hamster on a wheel, lots of activity, but not really going anywhere.
Exactly. And one of the biggest culprits when it comes to shallow work is email.
Oh, email. The bane of my existence. I feel like I spend half my life just trying to stay afloat in my inbox.
I hear you. But Newport has some clever strategies for managing email and reclaiming control of our inboxes.
Okay, I'm all ears. What's the first one?
So he calls it the sender filter.
Okay.
It might sound a bit radical, but it's about being more selective about who has access to your inbox.
Yep.
So instead of letting anyone and everyone send you an email, require them to clearly state the purpose and value of their message before you give them access.
So it's like having a gatekeeper for your inbox,
Yeah,
filtering out the noise and only letting in the truly important messages.
exactly.
I like it. Putting the power back in the hands of the receiver. What's the next strategy?
Okay, so this one is do more work when you send or reply. This one is about being more proactive and thorough in your communication. So instead of sending these short, vague emails that just lead to these endless back and forths, strive to resolve issues or answer questions completely in your initial email.
So closing the loop. Preventing those email chains that can quickly spiral out of control. It takes a little more effort up front, but it saves so much time and headache in the long run.
Precisely. You know, it's about valuing your time and attention and making sure they're being used wisely.
So stepping back from the nitty-gritty of email management, what's the big picture takeaway for listeners who want to minimize shallow work and maximize deep work?
I think the key is to be intentional, to be aware of how you're spending your time and attention,
Yeah.
and make conscious choices about what you prioritize.
And to remember that it's a journey, not a destination. You know, we're not going to be deep work masters overnight. There will be challenges and setbacks along the way.
Absolutely. But the more we practice these strategies, the more we integrate them into our lives, the better we'll become at managing distractions and creating the space for deep work to flourish.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Cal Newport's deep work, what's the final message you want to leave our listeners with?
Deep work is not a relic of the past, it's a superpower for the future. You know, in a world that's increasingly distracted and demanding, the ability to focus deeply, think critically, and create meaningful work is more valuable than ever.
It's about reclaiming our time and attention and using those precious resources to do work that matters, to live lives that are fulfilling, and to become the best versions of ourselves.
Exactly. And remember, deep work is a skill that can be cultivated. It's a choice we can make each and every day.
So go forth and dive deep. Experiment with the strategies we've discussed. Find what works for you, and discover the transformative power of deep work in your own life. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Cal Newport's deep work. We hope you found it insightful and inspiring. Until next time, stay focused. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. That way you won't miss any of our updates. Also, if you think this video could help others, please share it with them. Thanks for watching and for your support.